I'm Janelle.
I'm Marissa.
We're Anime Jam, and we have our guest today.
I'm John.
I'm Jason.
And we are Is It Wrong to Watch So Much Anime?
Yay! And I'm really excited about this because it's been a long time coming. And
I think the last time we did one of these was like a year and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
probably.
Or close, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
2 years? It's been a while. I don't know.
Yes.
yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, we planned this, but then life happens. But yeah, we're here today, and the episode today is called MECHA Madness.
Ooh.
I'm so excited. And
It's way better than March Madness.
Yes. And so we have our mecha expert here, John.
That's me.
Yes.
I'll try not to drone on about how there's like 50 million Gundams and there's like, 54 different timelines and yada, yada,
So you're
yada.
saying this is a popular genre?
Yeah. So mecha is one of the classic genres in anime. It's pretty much split into two different ways that you look at it. There's Giant Robo, which is more like the pilot is outside of the robot with like a voice communicator watch or something like that, where they're like, go, giant robot, destroy and smash that. So two that are notable are Tatsujin 28 Go and Mangzinger G or Z. Both of them, like the pilot's outside of the robot itself. Now, the one that we think of most is Real Robot, where it's more based on scientific principles, or they create their own scientific principles that says, because of this particle, we are able to power these humongous robots. And the science isn't always realistic, but it's part of the lore. And that is Real Robot, and that's more something like the poster child, Mobile Suit Gundam, which is the original. So you have like Amuro Ray, who uses the RX-78A prototype to fight the forces of Zeon for the Earth Federation. It spawned multiple universes, about 4 and counting, with multiple timelines and all sorts of different characters. It's basically your poster child mecha. Yeah.
The Wikipedia page for Gundam has hyperlinks to other Wikipedia pages in its own like thing.
Gundamverse.
That's how big it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've personally watched probably over 35 different separate Gundam series. And this isn't like season 2. These are just different series.
Yeah.
And maybe within or without the whole timeline. It's also spawned a whole toy empire with Gunpla, where, and we have partaked in that.
Yeah, I
was
made my
fun.
first one late last year.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It was
Christmas
fun.
break.
My husband has so many.
It
Like, I don't know.
when we bought
several.
the thing, the whole box thing, John was like, "All right, let's just set aside a day. It's gonna take a couple hours," and it took like all day. It took
Yeah.
like 6-something hours.
Yeah, and
I thought a couple was like 2, 3, maybe 4.
it's a good activity. To
like
really
a Martin
hone in on.
Scorseese movie or
Yeah,
something,
no,
right?
I
But no,
said
was
4
like,
to 6, depending on the complexity and things like that. So, I mean, there are 3 separate Gunpla themed anime series in the Gundam universe, just itself. So the toy spawned its own anime, in which creates more toys. It's cyclical.
It's what Hasbro wishes they could do.
So, Jason, you and I agree that one of the most accessible Gundams is
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. Iron-Blooded Orphans. It is also, to date, the only Gundam I have ever watched. So,
I should
Which
have
is
brought
fine.
mine.
yeah, I thought about that. On
yeah.
the way here, I'm like, oh, should I stop?
That is what I build for
Yeah.
my first.
Gundam Barbados. Yeah. I mean, and then people have debates all the time over which one is either the best Gundam or this, that, or the other.
Isn't it kind of subjective?
Oh,
like,
100%.
Yeah.
Especially considering that the one that they considered the strongest Gundam is this one from a series called Turn A Gundam, which was completely stupid. They have they were trying to make something different, but it was terrible. Like, I don't know, the Moonies. Moonies. Seriously, they named the villains the Moonies. And in their womps.
Are they from the moon?
Yes. So like the Earth is like 1800s development because it used to be super advanced. Then the Turn A Gundam came by and dissolved all the metal in the world with its butterfly wings. I kid you not, because they do it a second time and reset Earth back to null zero. It's a terrible story, and I can not believe that they made this the most powerful Gundam because it can deteriorate all metal on the Earth.
Wow.
That's crazy.
When did it come out? What year?
I forget, like late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
It was just ew. So avoid it at all costs. I already paid the price for this.
He's watched all the Gundams, so we don't have to, is
Yes.
what he's saying.
Well, no, I haven't watched all of them because not all of them have been released in the U.S.
Okay, so the ones he hasn't watched, he could
Yeah.
probably number off on his fingers. But
Just not.
There's a lot.
Like enough people to.
It usually has to do
copyright?
with contract negotiations and dubbing rights and
Yeah.
things like that.
so we just get the really big ones.
Typically,
Popular ones.
yes. The super popular ones, yes. Like Recognista, you can get on DVD, but there isn't a streaming service that currently has it. And it's usually because there may be like a Bandai Spirits versus some other production company that made it.
Yeah. How did you get into Gundam?
During middle school, they used to play Gundam Wing on Toonami. So it'd be like Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, and then like G Fighter Gundam.
Yeah.
Also, G Fighter Gundam, one of the worst Gundams ever. If I rewatched it out of nostalgia, and it's terrible and racist, and so that's also no thank you.
So it didn't age well.
It did not.
You should never watch stuff just off of nostalgia.
No.
Just leave it in the past. Stay with your good memory. of
Yes.
it.
Yeah, because as from adult eyes, it is not kind. So, I mean, there are a lot of good, like the most current one, which is The Witch from Mercury. It was fantastic. It comes, if you didn't watch episode 0 right away, it comes off as like high school Gundam, like these kids in high school, and then it turns into a classic Gundam story. So it at least gave you a nice interlude into it before it got pretty dark.
Yeah.
That is one that I do want to watch.
It is
But-
Mercury?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
animation looks brilliant.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, so.
It is. Just don't watch episode 0 until like you've gotten through 6 or 7 episodes,
Oh, okay.
because then you'll be like, I wonder what's really going on, and then you'll be like, watch episode 0 and be like, oh.
All right.
I like how a lot of these Gundams are much older.
The original Gundam is 1979, and everything forward. So, Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta Gundam, Char's Counterattack. There's a ton of them. Then they start moving into different timelines and centuries and things like that. They're bringing back Gundam Seed, which is kind of nice because that was the first like 56 episode like thing that I'd really watched. That was more like the space opera that really goes with the classic like Zeta feel, because it has the hero, then it has like the princess pop idol that sings the song that the world is going to go into peace because she sang the song and the world's going to be united.
Nice.
And then they like fly off into space, never to be seen again. Also classic Gundam things that happen.
Yeah.
Another mecha series that many people have watched is Neon Genesis Evangelion, or Evangelion.
Yes. Well, Evangelion is so ingrained into the Japanese culture that like they have a train that's Evangelion. There's a theme park that has parts of, Tokyo 3 and the base built in it, so
Whoa.
the kid of the director goes to work for the secret organization Nerve.
Yeah.
And suffers a doom spiral while also trying to save the world.
Yeah, he's literally just a kid, but he's got some, he's really insecure about his position in the world.
He messed up.
And yeah, just, I love the opening for
Oh, yeah.
Evangelion.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cruel Angel Thesis.
Oh my god, that song is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I really liked Evangelion when I first watched it. I only watched it a few years ago, so pretty new on the.
Did you watch the original dub?
I watched the original,
Okay, because the Netflix one is like, Shinji Ikari, 14 years old, original. Hi,
I watched the sub for that.
And then like the then the dub for it in Netflix, they redubbed a bunch. So it's like, instead of Shinji Ikari, 14-year-old, being like, it's like, hi, I'm Shinji.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So there's been controversy over that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Neon Genesis, it's one of those classic canon anime at this point where you can see a lot of references in other anime to it. The Gendo Ikari standing over or the it's hot.
I feel like I probably watched it too late in my anime watch through life cycle, because by the point I watched it, I've already watched like at least 100 different anime shows, right? So I think I saw everything that it would have inspired, right? Or I caught everything. So when I go back and then I see the
Original.
the original, the one that inspired it all, I'm just like, oh, it's pretty good.
That's okay.
Which can probably be considered heresy to some people. I'm just
Well, and then there's big debate over the new movies versus the series,
Yeah.
because the new movies
I didn't watch the
completely
new movies.
shift the. Some people justify it by saying that it is a different timeline. So in the end, Shinji has to decide whether or not the world is going to explode, die, and be reborn or not. And some people's explanation is this is just another universe that Shinji decided, I'm going to live in this world instead.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's also super cool mecha in that one, and they add some other really cool pilots into it. So I don't know. I think the original cheekiness of the first series has its merits. I mean, granted, the end of Evangelion and Death and Rebirth, there's some really violent and weird animations.
Yeah.
The two
Seemed real
movies that follows.
experimental for their.
Yeah, especially for 1997 and trying to get away with something that Americans see as childish or
Yeah.
aimed towards kids and have it have such a big message about, personal worth and just how the destruction of the world and
Yeah.
in most cases.
And it's also noted here, the OG Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Flesh mech.
yeah,
Flesh
flesh
mechs,
mech, because Evangelion, while it is considered mecha, they aren't really mecha. They're a humanoid giant that are being controlled by a person in the base of their neck. Attack on Titan uses real nerves, and they
Yeah.
use synthetic nerves. So
in the base of the neck.
in the base of the neck.
Oh, I did not
Yeah.
piece that together. Wow.
Yeah.
Things that I learned here.
So
I think the creator of Attack on Titan definitely got inspo from Evangelion.
well, they both destroy the world. They both, are riding flesh mechs.
Yeah.
They both get absorbed into it at one point or another. But I've written papers in college about all this stuff, so y'all don't need to hear all of my theories about Evangelion.
You still have them? You got the hard copies?
They're probably on my Gmail.
I kind of want to read that. I want to see what College John thought
Me too.
about Neon Genesis.
I want to see his
I wanna see,
what
like-
was the what was the conclusion of all
What
of
was
that?
the before and the after he watched this and it changed his life? I kind of want to know. I saw. I'm just like,
How Ray Ayanami and Ophelia from Hamlet
Yeah,
character
exactly.
heroines.
Yeah.
Shakespeare wishes he could.
Well, also speaking of younger John, Marissa, you had FLCL written down,
I
and that is
do.
absolutely one of my favorite all-time anime.
Heard it. Yeah, I first watched Fully Cooley when I was much too young, I think
think
to
we-
understand it.
I think we all did.
Yeah, I watched it when I was like a really early teen, and I did not get it. They showed it on Toonami, so late at night, and I they had it recurring in succession, right? So you would see the first episode one night, you'd probably see 1 and 2, and then they would show 3 and 4 the next night. So I stayed up and watched like all 6.
Good.
Didn't get it, but I really liked it. I liked the themes of it. Fooly Cooley, or FLCL, is basically like a coming of age story about Naota. Yes, and he is a like 12-year-old kind of just kid living in this like city. He lives with his father and grandfather, and he encounters this like, her name's Haruko. She is
Haruko.
Yes.
I love her name.
He encounters this woman, honestly, just by like, it just seems like pure accident, like luck.
But it's not.
Yeah, yes. She rides in on a yellow Vespa, and hits
Lost
him
woman.
on in the center of the forehead with her guitar. And so at first that doesn't do anything, right? He just has like a really big bump on his head, and she introduces herself, and she's really like eccentric and just a lively person, but you can also tell that something's not right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So he discovers that like the head injury that she created is actually a NO portal, and out from that portal comes Kanti, and he is this. It's like this robot that's like got the head of a TV and like little cute angel wings. I actually like the design of him.
Don't forget, he's got a kick-ass like motorcycle jacket.
Yes.
And like he's a real cool looking character.
He is, yeah. So there's only 6 episodes. It came out in 2000, I believe. It mostly received like positive reception, but it's also been described as like really bizarre and surreal.
I think the bizarre part is that since it's so out there, that if you don't watch all 6 episodes, there are things in the 6th episode that explain the first episode. There are things in the 5th episode that explain the second, and goes back and forth. So obviously, if you don't watch the whole series, it's not serialized. You can, plus there's only 6 episodes. So it's like a movie. You can binge the whole series in 2 hours. Which I have done multiple times. The mix of the story, the internal and external conflicts in the characters, as well as the incorporation of the indie music at the time it was released, it was just fire.
Perfect combination.
It was fire.
Yeah.
Especially for the generation of nerds that I grew up with, because like, I was telling them earlier, 2 of my friends went to a Pillows concert when they came out to Los Angeles. We used to make our own FLCL merch because it didn't exist. Like, this is how much love there is for this show out there.
Did the Pillows create songs just for the anime?
Yes.
Right?
It was in cooperation with the anime. So, their first album, basically the soundtrack is their first album.
Yeah. That's awesome, because if you look up on Spotify, I have the first album on Spotify. A couple of their songs will include Haruko talking, and it's really fun, like just hearing her a little bit, and then the song starts. So I really enjoyed that. I love Fooly Cooley. There's like a big cult following for that show, and one year Anime Matsuri hosted their thing, but part of their like sponsorship was Fooly Cooley, and I don't know if it was like their newer one. So Fooly Cooley is the first one. Yeah,
Overdrive.
They went ahead and made 2 additional series,
and there's another 2 coming out.
Yeah.
Now I've only watched the other 2 series one time through each, and I plan to watch them like a bajillion times more. I just haven't gotten to it yet because your to watch list gets pretty long.
Did the same kind of like indie feeling transfer to the second series? Because I feel like the first one really like hit it on the nail, and they just kind of kept going.
Kind of yes, kind of no. It had a different flavor just because it was in a different time period when it was produced and the music incorporated. So indie music from the early 2000s is, instead of it being like power trio, has really evolved into where there's a 4 or 5 man band where you've got synth, you've got extra vocalists and things like that. So they used, they stayed true to the indie vibe. And I think, not to say that the stories are similar, but that finding oneself kind of theme kind of came true. And even so for Haruko, as Haruko acted differently, and then they incorporated another, I guess, super dimensional police person into it. I think it stayed true to the indie flavor, but it's more of a modern indie flavor than it was the classic, power triple D type.
Right. I like it. It's definitely a good one. This is probably the only like mecha anime where I'm just like, yeah, this is the one that I can thoroughly say I enjoyed. I enjoy a lot of other mecha, but you guys will talk about it eventually anyway. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I haven't seen the other two newer ones.
They're good. It's just they're different, and it's okay to be different. But I mean, the feeling of like the early 2000s, all of my friends being into Fooly Cooly. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Like my 8 best friends from high school, we were all into Fooly Cooly.
I love that. Yeah.
So I recently watched Premiere when I was researching on mecha anime, and I was like, I want to watch a movie, and Premiere was one of them. And upon my little research, it's made by Studio Trigger, which is, do they come from Gainax or
Gainax?
I'm sorry?
Gainax,
sorry. I know I would butcher that. But a lot of the people from that studio started Studio Trigger. And the director of Premiere also directed Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, and this is my favorite, Cyberpunk.
I haven't watched that one yet.
Not yet. I want to.
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's 10 episodes long.
I think it's what's keeping me from playing the video game. Because every time I try the video game, I stop.
Why?
Like 3 missions in.
Oh.
I don't know. Like things just happen.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I have other games, but maybe if I watch the anime, I'll get invested, you know, and then play it all the way through.
The anime is like a prequel to the game, but it's not like, it doesn't really connect to the characters in the video game. It's just the city and like
the setting and stuff like that.
The setting itself, like the Night City, like all that.
It just adds to the flavor of what you'd play in the video game. Another story to get you invested in the world.
Oh yeah, yes.
But Premiere,
yes, going back to Premiere. I also want to mention they had the movie has notable voice actors, like Steve Bloom is in it, but he's like one of the minor characters. Billy, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Kametz.
Yeah.
Sadly, he had passed away from cancer, but he voiced Naofumi from
Shield Hero.
Yeah, Rising of the Shield Hero. That's the only one.
He was really good. I met him once at a con. It was, I think, one we went to. It was the one down in Galveston.
Onicon?
Yeah, that's the one. He was there. I have the picture that he signed. Yeah, I still have it.
This was
really
like 2018.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's cool. That's cool.
Awesome,
That's cool.
I remember when that movie came out.
we went to see it. Yeah.
How was it in theaters? Because like when I watched it on my TV, I was like amazed.
Well, I mean, it's yay big.
Yeah.
So, and then, it's Studio Trigger, and they're known for bright colors. And I mean, it's like the kind of neon that I wish, as somebody who appreciates art, I could replicate, like how brilliant they do the artistic aspect of the coloring.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
It's very much like, what's the other one? Kill la Kill.
Yeah.
That's that kind of art style.
Yes. Yeah.
Same studio.
Exactly. With like how brilliant the colors are and the incorporation. Yeah. It's just like, like I appreciate and love this so much, but I cannot replicate it to save my life.
Yeah.
Also, Crispin Freeman is in it. He voiced Alucard in both Hellsing series and Winston in Overwatch.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff.
Like he has a big resume. The other, I don't know if protagonist, anti-hero, but Johnny Young Bosch voices that character, who is, he's called the Mad Burnish, or is that his name?
Yeah.
He's like the boss of, I don't want to say boss, but I guess he's the leader. That's
Leader
the
guy, or at least one of the people that's willing to stick up for his own people.
Yeah. So leader of the Burnish, and I have not explained like the plot of the story. So basically, there was this calamity called the Great World Blaze, and it killed nearly like half the world due to like spontaneous human combustion. And eventually, other humans developed pyrokinetic abilities, and they became known as the Burnish. So like, there's like people with, abilities to use fire.
Like
And-
Fire Force, but not.
And then later, like years later, the main character, Gallo, he becomes a firefighter, and they have a burning rescue team, and they extinguish whatever the Burnish do, I guess. I don't know, like all the fires. But he gets caught up in a situation, and then like he meets the leader of the Burnish, and he questions himself, like he's so into like Promopolis, because the governor saved him and all that, so he's really loyal and dedicated to the city and his job. But when he meets the leader of the Burnish, he sees like the good that he's actually doing for his people, and so he's like in this conflict of, wait, is like what I believed been a lie this whole time? And then like, yeah, later on in the show, like he fights alongside with, I don't want to say the leader of the Mad Burnish, I forgot his name, fights alongside him because he finds out like all the atrocities that mainly the governor was doing.
Then there was something about a spaceship and being saved from something that
Yeah.
they had to power. Very Gurren Lagann, like, let's power this with the power of people
Yeah.
and
Doesn't
belief.
one of the main characters look like Gurren Lagann?
Yes.
Oh yeah, like
Kamina? Yeah.
But like a beefy version.
yeah.
He's souped
It's
up.
got like the shades
Yeah.
too.
So yeah. And then so you see the influence of like Gurren Lagann in this too.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. With the power of belief, Yeah.
Power of friendship.
Yes.
The power of a drill.
But yeah. But that that's like the whole like thing with the giant super robo, where it's
Yeah.
like the power of connection between people will win the day. One of the reasons why I like Gurren Lagann as a mecha anime is that it's so middle school boy out there. It doesn't have to go by any specific rules. You can just have fun.
Yeah.
We're team Daiguren. Like,
Yeah.
who do you think we are? Like, it's so like wannabe like biker gang.
I love
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When the three of us watched the movie, all the light, what's the movie called?
Something
all the stars that light up the sky. Or
Yeah,
something,
something
like
like that.
that. Wow. I loved it. It was incredible. I thought it was really cool. And the amount of just like power upping or power scaling was insane.
Yeah,
When
'cause
I
there's,
thought
like,
they couldn't go any further.
17
they
more
kept
evolutions
going.
forward.
Yes, they were like in the side of the universe. It was just crazy.
Well, and that kind of fun is exactly what mecha anime needs.
Yeah.
Because it can't be all depressing Mobile Suit Gundam stories where
So
it's
depressing.
like the world is the worst place ever.
Yeah.
And space is the worst place ever. And we just live in a seething pit of depression until that one pop star comes by and sings the song that connects the
everything
whole
better.
world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay with me.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
All the green goes back on the trees.
Yes. And the Gundam flies over and then disappears off into space.
I think the funny thing for me with Gurren Lagann is I watched half of it years ago and I thought this is pretty good, and then I watched something else. Right? I never finished it. So when I went back and I watched the movie with them, I got the second half, and I was like, oh, damn, this was really good. I wonder if the show ended that way. But I've seen the whole story, so I don't have to go back and watch it. I get to live with that movie, with the movie production that it had, and just be like, ooh, because that was good. That was a really good movie. I was surprised. I just thought I was going to have an easy, like, it'll be fun. But no, I genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the production value was so high from like them, like, you know, getting additional money. The colors were amazing, like
I was
vibrant.
definitely the same mind as you. I'm like, they took it this far. Are they going to... Is this it? And then no.
Yeah, it's like check your watch. Nope,
World within worlds.
there's like 35 more minutes of this movie. We're gonna see some
I
stuff.
didn't even notice the time going by. I was just in it.
Yeah.
So it was a good movie. I think the creators really like nailed it on that last one. And it being like the last movie, that was great. It was a good ending.
Now that we've talked about the happier, more fun Gundam Worlds, I can tell you a little bit about why Iron-Blooded Orphans is good, but I didn't finish it.
Why not?
Because it got so depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
Yeah.
like it is a really good show. If in another like timeline, it is the show that launches me into all the Gundam. Yeah, sure. I don't know exactly what it was about the moment that I watched it, but I'm like, dang, this is good. You know, it's about child soldiers. They find this mech, and then they decide to get back at the people that betray them.
Yep.
And start their own company. Awesome, right?
Decadent.
Yeah, and
Iron
they
Lotus
do
that'll never wilt.
really well, right? And that whole first season, I think, is done pretty good. I really enjoyed it. You get to the second one, they all start dying. Like every single one, like in really quick procession towards the end of it. So I don't think I watched the very last episodes.
You lost me at child soldiers.
Yeah,
I thought some major characters like died like in the beginning because
Oh,
I only
they-
saw a
they
few
all- yeah.
episodes, and I was like, I don't think I can handle this anymore because I got invested into this certain character. and I
Oh
forgot
yeah,
who, and then,
no,
like,
I know who you're talking about, and he dies around episode 8 or 9.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, no.
I feel like this is one of those where it's a little like Game of Thrones in the sense where it doesn't
Anybody
play
can
favorites
die
with
at
its
any
characters.
time.
They can die, and
Yeah.
then they do die.
Oh, yeah.
And I think for me, I was like, why are all these children dying? They're just trying to live.
Yeah.
You know,
Titan
it was
like
really
that,
good.
too.
Yeah. Oh, Attack
Yeah.
on Titan is 10 times worse because they'll spend a whole episode pumping you up on this
And here's
character.
the thing.
And 30
wait.
seconds into the battle,
I love that
Nope.
show though. I've watched the whole thing.
What would
It's an
you
honorable
relate
mention.
Attack on Titan to? Because I hear a never-ending barrage of it's so good, it's
Yes.
the best. There's a huge fandom for it.
There is.
I still haven't watched it though, and so like there's an element to it that I am personally reluctant to watch
because
I
it's
don't know
so
why.
built up that
Yeah.
you're like, is it going to meet my expectations or not?
Exactly. A lot of it too is that I know what happens just because it came out 10 years ago. How am I not? How am I supposed to shield myself from spoilers when everybody is talking about it and it's so massively popular?
I read
Well,
the manga.
you
As
just-
soon as the first part of season 4 finished, and they're like, okay, now you have to wait a while for the second
get
part. I was
that
like,
way,
no.
too.
I started the manga after season 3.
Yeah.
Because of what studio first did it, and then Mappa
Yeah.
took over the last season. After season 3, the animation was like so good, and the story got really intense. I was like, I gotta read it, and I read it from the beginning
Yeah.
all the way up until the end of the manga, and I was like waiting patiently for season 4 to come out, and I was like, I know so much information and secrets that I want to talk to someone about it, but I can't. So yeah.
I read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew I was
Yeah.
going to get spoiled otherwise.
I do appreciate you showing me a video from season 3 of Attack on Titan.
Was it the one with Levi?
Yes, because
Yeah.
she showed me how cool, like how good the animation
Yeah.
has come from like season 1 to 3, and then just Levi alone doing his like
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need to
Cleaning?
watch it.
It looks so
Mm-hmm.
good.
Cleaning or
No, he
No,
or
it was
chopping people up?
chopping people.
chopping.
Yeah, because like
He's chopping.
The way he chops, though, is an actual art form. So, anyways, Iron-Blooded Orphans was really depressing for me. just for that one instant, that one hot second. And then, something happened and I stopped caring and I just watched stuff like Attack on Titan that is arguably just as depressing.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a
And yet I
mecha
still
Just as
anime
soul
that
breaking.
Did it make you depressed?
I actually really like Darling in the Franxx. Yeah. So, you know how I said Evangelion I watched too late,
Yeah.
right? Because then I see everything that it inspired. It's same thing with Mobile Suit Gundam, right? Like you can see a lot of what has been inspired by it by now at this point in time. This is one of those. I watched this one super early in my anime watch life.
In your anime
cycle.
watching career. Yes.
Yeah. So it is, I think, one of the first mech animes that I've watched. And I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I think they did a lot of it really well. I know there are like people who don't like the second half as much, right? They don't like the ending as much because they feel like it's very weird compared to the other thing or to the rest of it, which
Yes.
I kind of get. Like for the most part, it's about almost as down to earth as a mech show about teenagers controlling big old machines can be, right? It keeps it very
Yeah.
grounded, is I think the word I'm thinking of, right? And then towards the end, you just get the more random magical Deus Machina thing.
Yeah,
Deus Ex Machina.
it moves from being something that could be considered like a cartoony real robot, or into completely giant robo, where the people are inside and one of them becomes the robot.
Yeah, where I watched it and I thought, I still like it. This is still pretty good, 9 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
And then even with that, and then like years later, I go and I'm watching a Mobile Suit Gundam movie with John. It's
Char's Attack.
Yes, that's the one, right? And you get to the very end where they're fighting and you're wondering, well, how is this going to fix? And it's another one of those random magical Deus Ex Machina endings that hand waves it all away, And I was like, oh, so that's where it kind of comes from. you know?
Yes.
But it didn't bother me. And I think maybe the reason it kind of bothered other people is because they've seen it before. And it kind of comes out of nowhere. And then they're like, ugh, But that one I did like. I didn't think that one was like really depressing or anything. It was just a really fun watch.
Yeah. Well, and since we are library people, there is a book relation to this. So Iron Widow by Jiren J. Zhao.
Sharon J. Zhao. Zhao? I forgot how to pronounce
I get
Z.
their reels
Zhao?
on my reels. Their videos on my pop up on my TikTok.
Yeah. They are awesome.
That's how I found out about the book, was because the video popped up for me on TikTok. And they talked about Iron Widow, and it's about it's inspired by Chinese history about the first female emperor, Wu Zetian. I'm not going to pronounce these correctly, so I apologize. I was like, yes, femme fatale. I love this.
Well, okay. So to explain the book a little bit, so you basically have an evil presence that like attacks the people with like these bug mechs, and then so they kill the bug mechs and then make more mechs out of them, and they have different classes that are based off of like Duke, Prince, Lord, princess, or not princess. They use all male names because, well,
It's a
king class, things like that.
Yeah.
And so to pilot one of these, you have to have enough spirit energy. Well, it takes a male and a female pilot, just like how they do in Darling in the Franxx. The author said that they took inspiration directly from it because they watched the first season and was like, cool. Then watched the second season and was like, this sucks. And so basically the male pilots use the female concubine pilots as batteries, spirit energy batteries, and then they die. So this other pilot, she comes up out of a poor neighbor, poor setting from one of the frontiers, and kills one of the male pilots by taking over. Then gets matched up with this guy who's got immense spirit pressure. And then there's this whole like love triangle that kind of turns into a love circle.
It's a polyamorous relationship.
It is. It is. There's
I
just
love it.
yeah.
I'm there for it.
It's one of those like, wow, so that's how that works. I don't think I could do this, but go you. Yeah. And so big battle, yada yada yada. Lots of like. So if you like the mech genre, you would like Iron Widow as a book.
You read it, right?
I listened to the audiobook.
Okay.
I did
and
as well.
It was amazing. I loved the narrator.
With all the proper pronunciation of everything.
Yes. And I looked up her name too, and I think she's of Asian descent. So I'm like, okay, awesome.
Yes.
Representation. And I think the narrator really captured the essence of the story and like Zentian's anger of the patriarch in the society.
I like how they bring up the foot binding thing.
Yeah.
Because
Ooh, that was
yeah, exactly. Because this is a real thing. And then
Yeah.
some people go, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, this was a real thing. Like,
in China, yeah.
like this isn't made up. This is real life. And people were scarred for their entire lives because of this.
Yeah, and the way it was described in the book, like holding on to myself, I was like, I
Yeah.
like
you
it's
can't
very
imagine.
very descriptive of how they bind her feet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason Zenshin decided to be part of like the what is it? They don't say it's a military, but she decided to be a pilot because her sister was a concubine, and she died, and that was Zenshin's like motivation, was to get revenge on the male pilot that killed her sister. And so she did in the beginning, and she killed him off, and then they dubbed her the Iron Widow because she had so much chi. It was like surprising to like everybody, and like she was so powerful. They, like, you already explained it, like
Yeah.
they teamed her up with the, like, I guess the strongest guy that has a lot of the chi.
Well, it was kind of funny because it's like how we're talking about with Gurren Lagann, the limit breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So originally, most concubine pilots around like 120 to 200, units of however they measure chi, and she had like 600. So then she got put with this pilot that had like 5,000, and then she like broke the limit where she was at like 6,000. By breaking his mind and basically draining him of chi and killing him, in this glorious scene that I really love. Then she gets put with the other pilot, and then her limits break, or both of them actually grow from like 10,000 to like 18. So you got these two 18,000 spirit pressure unit monsters in this mech. You're like, brilliant. So I love the limit breaking aspect. She's not limited to what she was just given. She broke those limits herself.
Yeah. And in the story, the mechs are called chrysalises. I like that word. I don't know. It sounds cool.
Well, because they're fighting the Huindwin like bug
Yeah.
mechs.
Yeah. And each of the chrysalises is inspired by Chinese mythology. So the biggest one, I think, is the phoenix, or no? I
Well,
forgot
the
what-
golden dragon was the biggest one
Okay,
because that was the
golden
king
dragon, okay.
class one. But the one
Sorry, I
that they were
forgot.
in was the vermilion bird.
Vermilion bird. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And then
That
there's
one.
like the black tortoise, and
And
then
the
like the something
white,
hair,
white tiger.
white
I think.
tiger,
Yeah.
like white hair or something like that.
Yeah, it's a really great read. I really recommend the audiobook. I mean, you could read the physical book yourself, but just overall recommend. I love it.
Code Geass was on,
Oh,
I think,
yeah.
both of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Code Geass.
Code Geass.
I mean, I haven't watched that probably since it was on Toonami like a bajillion years ago.
I watched all of it a few years ago. I started watching anime, 4 years ago?
It was 2017. Let's just
2020.
say 2017.
I don't think it was that
So
far back.
yeah, it was.
Oh my
Like
god.
7 years.
Yeah,
wow,
it
you
was
are
that far
old.
back.
Oof.
Jeez.
Whoa.
Time
Remember,
for
'cause I was
toasters.
like,
The
what
memory's
have
the
you
first to
seen?
go, and I was like, nothing.
And I was like, here's a list.
You watched Code Geass a few years ago. I'm still
Yes.
watching it.
Yeah.
I think I'm halfway through.
I think you're.
I
I looked
watched
up
it
where
so
you're
long
at,
ago,
and
I've
you're
forgotten
almost
it.
at, I think, the climax of the first season. So
Same. I saw it.
Feel free to
a very
message me
while
when
ago.
you finish
Like
that first season.
2014, maybe.
Probably
2013.
2008.
I thought there was like
You're older.
one season.
No, there's two.
Yeah, there's
Two?
two.
Two.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the opening song changed, that was season 2, right?
Yes, that's
okay.
usually the indicator that the season
Well,
has changed.
Well,
Some
so
anime use the same song.
I
like
say
Hunter x
2
Hunter.
seasons because it's like 2 seasons of 24 episodes. But usually when they do that, they switch up theme songs around halfway into it. So like the first
Okay.
12
Some
has
streaming
one,
sites
second
will put them
12.
together too, so
Yeah.
it's like one
I think
giant.
that's why I'm on Hulu. I mean, I'm
Okay,
watching
so
it.
it
on
might be
Hulu.
together
I think.
Okay.
on that site.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think the first season is like 20 episodes, 20 something episodes. So
Okay.
what I mean is when you finish that one, you can let me know what you think.
Okay.
I
yeah.
I can't really spoil anything because you're not
I know.
where I think
Oh.
you are. But it is a good mech
yeah.
show.
So is
Britannica.
Britannica, Holy Britannian Britannian Empire.
Lelouch Lamperouge?
Maybe.
Lamperouge?
Yeah.
Britannia.
I think the place is called Britannia though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Britannia
Yeah, yeah.
Empire.
So it's another one of those stories where it revolves around Britain being like, now we've, where they're taking the Holy Roman Empire and they're taking the British Empire, putting them together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they do this a lot in like vampire stuff. So if you've watched like Trinity Blood, where they'll have like the Holy Britannian Empire.
The setting is in Japan, but they like Britannia calls it 11, and they call the Japanese people 11. So it's like dehumanizing them, and that sucks.
That's actually a really common theme in a lot of mecha anime is what
Yeah.
I found.
Or like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, it starts. It does that, and then like there's like classism and racism and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Chotron, yeah.
yeah,
Also kind of sounds like District 12.
So Lelouch,
Lelouch.
he is Britannian, and he gets into the situation, and there's this girl who has like the power of Gios. Her name's Cece, and she like saves him. And, like, did she save him? I forgot the beginning.
I think
But
he
anyway.
like accidentally stumbles across her, like she's in some kind of pod or something, and
Yeah.
he opens it up, and then because of that, he randomly gets a Gios.
Oh, she's like,
Yeah.
I found you.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what she
Something
said.
like
But
that.
Anyway,
I guess what CC he
Oh.
leads a rebellion against
yeah.
Britannia.
uses
So
that,
he
yeah.
he gets the power of absolute obedience. So like he has to look directly at somebody, and like the eye thingy.
He gets that
happens.
cross in his eye.
Yeah, and like he tells this person what to do, and they just do it.
Yeah.
But he could. There's a caveat too. Like he can only do it once
Yes.
per person. And yeah,
It's a pretty decent, I think, limitation on that because otherwise, what's the story? Oh, he can tell everyone to do anything, anytime. you know?
yeah. And as I was watching this, it kind of reminded me of Light.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Death Note?
it's one of those super smart geniuses
Yeah.
who's just like plotting all the time, kind of like Death Note. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only in this instance, he doesn't have like an L level, also
Counterpart?
smart counterpart.
Yeah.
He's taking on a whole empire.
Yeah. And just leads like a rebellion against the Empire with inside giant mechs, and they fight,
Yeah.
in the mechs. It was pretty cool fighting. Yeah.
Is this an original animation? Like it's not formed
Yes.
from
I
a
believe
manga?
so,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like
It-
has
the
manga
people that
adaptation.
made it or the company was I think
Clamp.
Studio Orange.
He did his characters.
yeah.
Clamp did the character designs.
I mean, which you could totally tell from
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
super thin,
I've
humongous
never read like a
eyes,
clamp,
hair.
but I
Yeah.
can tell. Yeah.
Long legs.
CC reminds me of Chobits.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The opening song is fire.
I mean, I've seen it on like if you type best OP like list.
Yeah.
That's one that makes it into the top 25 frequently.
Nice. Okay. My husband. I'm sorry. What
I
was
was
it?
saying Colors by Flow. Yeah, you were right.
Okay. My husband made fun of me because I love that song so much, and He's like, you're such a poser. You haven't even watched the anime.
Whatever.
So you have to watch it. So
Wow,
that
you can't enjoy things without seeing them.
I know, right?
He's one of those.
He's just messing with
Yeah.
me. But it's a really good song, and like, of course, that like got me started watching it like a few years ago.
The good thing is you're watching it now that everything's out, so you don't have that wait like of week to week for different things. Like I stopped watching anime because I don't want to wait. I mean, I don't like waiting a week just to watch the next thing.
But what about
I'd
Attack
rather
on Titan?
binge.
Like,
I mean,
didn't
that
you-
I watched.
Okay.
There are exceptions to this rule, you
Yeah.
know, like the really good anime. Yes, I will show up and I will watch every single week.
For Attack on Titan, like when the newer season came out, like season 4, so I was already caught up on the manga, and I would watch the episode 2 times. So the first time was just, just to watch it, and the second time I would have my phone out and I'd read the manga just to see if like
how
I'm
it
comparing.
translated.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like I'm so in love with Attack on Titan for some reason. It's a good story. Thanks, Isayama. But yeah, I just like the loyalty of the animation to
To the
the
story.
manga. I mean, MAPPA did change a few things, but I liked the changes. And it wasn't like anything major.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very minor changes.
Nice. I think that's it on Code Geass too. By
Yeah.
Code Geass.
Yeah.
So, but it's good. It's worth a watch still. I have not watched any of the movies that have come out since, but
Oh, there are movies?
yeah,
Code Geass
they're
movies?
I think most of them are just like
Compilation movies where they
Yes.
just cut them together. They do this with Gundam all the time, where they're like, Gundam blah blah blah, like the blah blah blah, Gundam 00, Trigger for the World or some intense title, and then all they did was just mix together 12 episodes into a 2-hour movie.
That was a lot of mecha, a lot of madness,
yeah.
Yes.
a lot of
I mean,
mecha madness.
Just imagine we didn't even get through all of John's notes.
Yeah, no,
know.
I cut all my
If
stuff
you want,
pretty
you
short.
can very quickly just
Yeah.
list them.
Lightning.
I think I will
lightning round.
also
Lightning round.
include some of our notes for in the video.
Yeah.
We'll have like a link whenever we upload it so that you can check it out as well.
I have Super Dimensional Fortress Macross, aka Robotech,
1982.
1982. The more interesting part isn't actually the story of Macross, it's more of the story of Harmony Gold, which is the copyright holder. And so, like, they're super problematic and greedy to the point where in Italy they had been caught reselling the rights at a higher price. And they were named in part of a lawsuit that of 4 different companies that were doing this. And 2 out of the 4 got prosecuted and their CEOs went to jail. And the only reason why Harmony Golds didn't go to jail is because of statutes of limitations. And they might have also possibly been laundering Italian mob money.
Oh my
See,
god.
that does sound more interesting than
So
Macross.
they're more interesting than the actual anime. Then I also mentioned Bubblegum Crisis, how like Iron
1998.
Man suit wearing ladies as part of the 80 police world go and take out boomers, which are rogue robots doing various jobs, from attacking humans and going on murder sprees. Very much the powered suit type of original that a lot of people link back to, plus the awesome song, by Akira Sudo is quite iconic.
Oh, I gotta look that up now.
I see
Armored
you put
Core
Armored
2.
Core, the video game.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Armored Core is a mech game where you're basically a mercenary who goes out and fights other mechs. There have
the year
been
2000.
a ton of games of Armored Core. But it also falls in the same vein of like Titanfall, very popular Titanfall 2, Xenogears, and like 30 plus Gundam games, which I've played like 3 of them. Then Full Metal Panic. Basically, there's 4 different series of this. One of the series, though, is called Fumafu, which is like a campy high school comedy. So it takes the seriousness out of the mech genre and just runs around like crazy little kids.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of hilarious moments that are referenced in other places. Then I have to throw it in here. Pacific Rim, 1, 2, and The Black. The Black being the
The anime one?
Yes,
Animated one?
and it's a legit anime because
Okay.
it's made from Polygon Pictures, which is a Japanese studio that was made for Netflix, and it kind of tells the story of what's going on the ground between Pacific Rim 1 and 2 in a completely different area of the world. So after the Sydney attack, this is kind of what was going on.
Okay.
The author of Iron Widow described their book as Pacific Rim meets Handmaid's Tale. So
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially with the idea of drifting between the two pilots. The yin and yang, or in theirs, is more like the two left and right side of the brain in Pacific Rim, and then they drift between each other's memories while still having that forefront focusing on fighting a humongous monster.
gotcha.
See.
But I digress. We could do a whole thing just on kaiju, especially since kaiju number 8 coming up for next season.
Oh,
I love Godzilla.
Watch Godzilla minus.
So Godzilla's next then on our
Sure. Well, there is
Yes.
about 7 different Godzilla
yes.
movies that are animated, all on Netflix.
all right.
All right, so next time you invite us, it's going to be kaiju, right?
Yes.
Ooh,
I'll bring
I
my
like this.
kaiju things.
There you go.
That wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our guests.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for your all the input and insight, and like I learned so much about mecha.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
It's not the genre you usually watch.
It's not your number one.
not my number one. Yeah.
Same.
We'll see y'all next month.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.